Hi there, it's Tom Morgan here, um, and doing another one of these videos. And this time I thought I'd try and do something a little bit different because I realised there's a ton of things going on at the moment and changing week on week, and I don't always get the time to put them into a blog post, and sometimes they're not all big enough to put into a blog post. So I thought I'd try doing a weekly recap session over video. Now, there's a couple of things I want to say right up front. I've no idea if I can commit to doing this every week. I'm gonna really try and do it, but we'll just kind of see how it works. The other thing is this isn't going to be a Skype for Business roundup. There's one of those already. You should definitely go and check it out. Josh is killing it. Go and check him out on Twitter. He's at GetCSJosh, and you can also look him up on YouTube and stuff. And I don't want to copy what he's doing. This is slightly different because what I look at within Skype for Business is slightly different. It's much more based on the development side. And more, what I'm finding is that it's crossing over into some of the stuff that isn't Skype for Business, but is still communications related, into bot framework and some of the Office 365 stuff, some of the team stuff. Really, it's kind of interesting that mirrors the way that the world of communication is changing as well. And communication isn't just tethered to a single application. You don't go to your communications application anymore. It's much wider scope. So that's kind of where I'm looking at it, much more from the development side of things. Now, also kind of right up front, a couple of apologies. I know the video isn't great. I know the sound isn't great. I hope those things get better over time. I'm very much a believer in getting something out there, even if it's not perfect, and then improving on it. So that's what I'm doing. For just to give you a sense of where I am at the moment, it's been a very busy week. So it's around about 10:30 at night here. My day started around about 6 o'clock this morning. It's Friday, obviously, as well. So it's the end of a long week. So I'm pretty tired. If I'm honest, I kind of had to force myself to do this, but I'm glad I started now because it's the idea. If I'm going to do this every week, I have to also do it on the times when I don't feel like doing it as well, right? So it's kind of that. We're throwing a party here at home tomorrow, so there's been a lot of prep and stuff for that through the week, and it's been a busy week as well. But I think it's only going to get busier, so I've just gonna suck it up. So anyway, let's get on with the kind of the content, if you like. So what's been happening this week in the stuff I've been looking at? Well, I think probably the biggest thing, the biggest kind of Skype for Business announcement came around yesterday, and it was around these healthcare templates. So if you haven't read it, I'll stick something in the link in the notes that go with this video. But Microsoft have put out some open source templates aimed at a healthcare scenario. Now they're all on GitHub, so you can take them and you can use them. They're licensed so that you can just take them and change them and do whatever you want with them. And what they're a series of actual code, like real code, of a project to cover things like a patient going to a portal and being able to book an appointment, through to that invite being sent out, through to them arriving, going into a lobby wait experience, some tools, network checking tools as well, so they can kind of make sure that the quality of what the call and the network and everything and the devices is all good. And then a mechanism for the doctor to pull that patient in to a secure meeting room, like secure meeting environment, and have that consultation. So that's kind of interesting from a couple of sort of points. So it's interesting to see Microsoft still really interested in the health market as a vertical and seeing what can be done there. It's also interesting to see them really putting effort into developing tools to kind of almost prompt the development industry in healthcare to adopting them. It's kind of unusual. I can't think of another. Might be, I don't know. There may well be, but I can't off the top of my head think of another example that's quite like this, where Microsoft have provided like fully worked examples for a very specific vertical. But it's clear that they see that communication in healthcare is going to change and is ripe for change. So it's interesting to see them um, target that vertical in that way and say, look, you can do all this with Skype for Business. You can do all this with the tooling, and look, here's a project that shows you exactly how you can do it. Now you're totally free to take that code. What they say is that code isn't necessarily something you'd want to just drop straight in to your business. It won't integrate with stuff you've got today, but you'll need to do that integration work. You'll need to do branding and stuff like that, and build it into your back end patient databases and stuff like that. But it's a really interesting start, and I think it's really good to see Microsoft coming out and saying, look, you can do all this in this market, in this healthcare market. We can make an amazing difference, and look, here's how we do it, and here's how you can do it, and here's how you can make an amazing difference as well. So that was really cool to see. So that's definitely worth checking out. I mean, if you're in the healthcare vertical, that's absolutely, you've got to have a look at it. But if you're just kind of into the Skype for Business development, generally it's still interesting because there'll be a lot of things that you can take and use. It's not, you can imagine the idea of somebody booking an appointment, going into a waiting room, and then being seen is not something that's just fixed to healthcare. So yeah, so that's definitely the biggest news, I think, in the kind of Skype for Business, pure Skype for Business development side of things. There's been some interesting news around in cognitive services. There's a good blog post out around some digging in, going through all the different cognitive services APIs. And the one this week talks all about knowledge, and goes into some information there about the APIs. And it's definitely worth checking that stuff out. It's definitely worth revisiting every now and again, because the cognitive services is an area that Microsoft are really spending a lot of time and money on, and those APIs are evolving over time. So it is worth going back every now and again and just checking out what's available and what you can do today. One of the podcasts this week, the Office 365 Developer Podcast, that was pretty cool. There was an interview in there around building contextual bots, and it was to do with building the bots within the SharePoint framework. But some of the stuff they were talking about is definitely applicable anywhere. What they were actually talking about is the concept of a back channel, which, as a Skype for Business developer, that's not a new concept. UCMA apps have always had this back channel. They call it the context channel in UCMA. Really a means for your application to talk to the client PC and the application to talk to each other without the user necessarily being aware of it. And the bot framework has a very similar concept as well, where your application can send messages back to the bot framework and the bot code when stuff happens, or when you click on a button, or whatever else it might be. So that's kind of interesting. Also this week, not really developer related particularly, but the news from Amazon about Chime, which is a new thing they're going to be working on. It's a kind of UC kind of competitor, I suppose, to Skype for Business and Google Hangouts and all that kind of stuff. It's real, they're pitching it as real-time audio, video, instantly, click of a button, the same kind of pitch that everybody gives, right? It's kind of interesting from the developer side, because Amazon are pretty strong on their developer support. So AWS is a pretty big deal, and there's an awful lot of developers who are very bought into AWS and that whole ecosystem. So if Amazon make a really easy way to embed RTC and to embed real-time communications and collaboration stuff just using AWS, and you're already bought into the AWS ecosystem, yeah, that's pretty interesting. So the other things that have been going on for me this week. So this morning I went to a breakfast run by Norfolk Developers, which is the local development community group sort of where I live. An interesting breakfast this morning with Clive Lewis, who is our local MP. So for international viewers, that's Member of Parliament. So he represents us in the government. And it's kind of interesting because he's a Labour MP, which means his party is not in power. So he is kind of speaking from a position of not really being able to change anything and not necessarily agreeing particularly with where we're going in terms of Brexit. So UK viewers may remember Clive Lewis as the person who dramatically resigned last week or the week before over the Brexit issue. So it was kind of very interesting to kind of talk to him about technology, about the state of technology where I live. It's relatively rural. I mean, I'm just outside of the big city in the area, but a lot of the county is quite rural, and there's problems with things like transportation and education, and things like that that are holding back technology and technology companies being here and thriving here. I mean, don't get me wrong, this area actually has a fantastic technology community which we benefit from, and I benefit from. But there's always things we can do better. So it was kind of very interesting to kind of have that conversation with him. I've been spending a lot of time this week as well preparing. So at the end of next week is the Norfolk Developers Conference, and I'm going to be talking there, but also leading a workshop as well. Now the workshop's pretty cool actually. It's all about building a Skype bot using the bot framework and using AI. So it's been really good to put that workshop together actually, because it's made me kind of think about all the different parts of the puzzle and putting them all together. And so now I have a nicely put together workshop. So I'm going to have a think about what the best way of kind of what I do with that basically, what the best way is of kind of like producing that to be useful to everyone else, and if I can do anything with it, whether it's blog posts or videos or training session or whatever it is, we'll kind of work out. But yeah, that's been really good to kind of go through as well. So that's a week on Saturday. The talk is a week on Friday, and then a week on Thursday. Not even a week. Next Thursday, next Friday, next Saturday. So yep, not very long to go. On Thursday is a schools day, so it's something that the NorDev Con guys have put together. I think it's a really great idea. It's a day just aimed at kind of 16 to 18-year-olds, I think, getting them into STEM, getting them thinking about things like robotics and kind of programming and stuff like that. So I'm going to be helping with that. I'm kind of pretty excited to be helping with that. Yeah, it should be really good. I think the plan is to build some self-balancing robots, so it should be pretty fun. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it for this week. Like I say, let me know your feedback's good or bad. If everybody hates it, I won't do this. If you all shout at me and tell me it's terrible, then that's fine. It's kind of useful for me to think about and look back over the week, but it doesn't necessarily mean I need to record it and put it on YouTube every week. But if it's been useful, let me know, and I'll kind of continue to do these. I think I think there's going to be stuff to talk about. There's definitely going to be stuff that that we can cover, because there's so much going on at the moment. It really is kind of a busy time. I'm worried now I've probably left something out. But I guess it doesn't matter if I'm going to do one of these every week, right? So I think the rough plan is that I'm going to do it every Friday, either Friday night or Saturday morning, and then release it probably on Saturdays. I think that's probably the best plan. So great. Thanks very much for listening, and talk to you again next week.